Hello, how are you doing? कसे आहात सगळे? So today we are going to start this new lesson number 3 in the first unit of business communication, semester 2, obviously. And today's lesson and its name is committees and conferences. So we have always heard this word committees and always heard about someone going or flying for conferences and going to the different places. But why are these conducted? Why do we have committees to do the work? So Louis Allen, named a thinker and a manager, and you can say a writer, Louis Allen defines a committee as a body of persons appointed or elected to meet on an organized basis for the consideration of matter before it. So in a way, before taking the decision, a group of members come together to find pros and cons about that decision, and that body of persons appointed or elected for taking this decision in the benefit of organization is called as committee. This definitions brings out in a broad outline of the characteristics, that is features of the committee. A committee is more or less formal body, often with the definite structure. So in a way we can say that committee is a formal body and it has some definite structures. Every person in committee and every committee has its proper specific jobs to make decisions about budgets, plans, taking policy decisions, making suggestions, recommendations, something like that. Though some companies have what are known as informal committees, some committees are formal, some committees are informal or discussion groups. This is only a way of describing them, for no committee can be informal in sense that anyone from the department can drop in and take the part of decision. Definitely, even though we are talking informally, no committee can be that informal because only members of the committee can commit to the decision and not the outside of the member body. Okay, so let's see advantages of committee and why committee is very useful. First of all, pooling the opinions. The members of the committee come from different backgrounds, they have different expertise, they have different experience, viewpoints, values, and when they come together and validate and discuss some points, problems, at that time they give us proper introduction and proper knowledge about the point to be discussed, decision to be made. And this pooled opinion helps in taking realistic view of problem and make better decisions for the improvement. So this is how pooling of opinions is done and is helped through the committee. Then second is better coordination. Committee form of organization brings more coordination among different segments of the organization. When representatives of different departments sit together, they understand and appreciate the difficulties faced by others. So in a way, they come together, they talk, they understand each other, and they try to fix the problem. They try to make better decision. They try to find a way to achieve targets more easily through the discussion and better coordination with the help of their experience, their knowledge, and all the discussions they are conducting. So these are first two advantages. One is pooling of opinions, and other is better coordination. Third is balancing of views. This type of organization helps in balancing the views expressed by different persons. There is a tendency to overemphasize the aspects of one's own department by ignoring the interdepartment character of problems of different departments. A committee helps to bring out an agreed view of the problem by taking into account divergent views expressed in such meeting. So in a way, we can say that this type of organization helps in balancing overall the views of the different people, and they come together at the single axis where all the dimensions of the decision making or the problem is committed, is watched through, is supervised, and take the better decision. Then the next one is improves employer-employee relations. If employees are included in management and other organizational committees, they get a sense of participation, and this greatly helps to improve employer-employee relations. You know, if there is a committee which includes the manager, the CEO, the worker, the factory worker, that means they are considered equal during the decision making process, and which creates the sense of belongingness, and obviously it will improve employee employer relationships. The fifth point is coordination and decision making. Definitely, the main aim of establishing a committee is to coordinate between different activities, between different departments, between different people with different expertise and experiences, to take better decisions to achieve the targets of the company. Then the sixth point is to prevent dictatorship. Remember, we have learned 5 points. The first was pooling of opinion. Second was better coordination. Third was balancing of views. Fourth is improves employer-employee relations. Fifth is coordination and decision making. The sixth is prevent dictatorship. Okay. So in a way, nobody likes a dictator. Nobody likes a dominant person taking all the decisions and the credit for the work. So in a way, committees help to prevent too much power being centered in the hands of single individual in an organization. This is especially true when there is an executive committee which is jointly responsible for decision making, and it always helps in better decision making. Then there is a better communication factor. We are learning about business communication throughout these days, and we can say that if there is no better communication, better talking inside the organization through formal or informal channel, then there will be quite a chaos during the working of company or organization or any kind of work proceedings. So it is better form of discussing matters of mutual interest and reaching certain conclusions through the actions of committees. These decisions can be properly communicated through subordinates, through committee members. The members will transmit correct and authenticate information and also convey the background of these decisions. Then the eighth point is make the employees of the organization feel important. As I said just before a few minutes, that any person who works in the organization for the organization wants to be a important part of organization. Let it be whatever its position, job designation, he wants that belongingness of the organization. And committees, being member of some committees, management recognizing the worth of worker through the committee meetings and including their name in a committee makes the employees feel more important. Do you know, in our college we have different parts of work activities. They such are considered as curricular, extracurricular, co-curricular, and for every part they have different committees which have conveners, co-conveners, and the members and the student members who are part of these committees, who work together to make activities better, to make betterment of the students as well as college. So in a way, committees help employees and the members to feel important part of that organization. And then the ninth is, and the last advantage is executive training. Committees provide a good forum for training executives. They learn the value of interaction, group dynamics, and human relations. In a way, they are exposed to various viewpoints and learn the art of reaching decisions and solving organizational problem. In a way, even the job position where the worker is doing work at the lower level of hierarchy in organization, if he is included in a committee, he can learn a lot and he can reach to the upper levels of managerial positions through this training as an executive training. So hopefully now you know the 9 advantages of committee. First is pooling of opinion, second is better coordination, third is balancing of view, fourth is improves employer-employee relations, fifth is coordination and decision making, sixth is prevent dictatorship, seventh is better communication, eighth is make employees of the organization feel important, and then ninth is executive training. It can be a bigger question for your paper that explain the functions of committees in the organization, explain the advantages of the committees in the organization. Let's see one example. It's a case example of a successful committee. A company in Chennai was faced with many labor problems. Every time a worker was dismissed for a misbehavior or not doing the work, the union called for a strike. That means the company was on strike. It was finally decided to set up a committee of 4 members of management and 4 union representatives to go into all cases that required disciplinary action. That means there were 4 members from management, which were on behalf of company, and 4 members from workers union, which represented all workers. Now, surprisingly enough, it was found that the union representatives on many occasions supported the action of management and recommended dismissal. That means with the proper and amicable coordination, better decision making, we can say that the strike was avoided. Any kind of misbehavior, mistreatment, maljudgment was avoided, and productivity increased as the number of strikes decreased and cordial relations were established between the management and the workers. That means productivity increased through the better communication and better decision makings made by that committee. So this is kind of example of which explains the advantageous situation of establishing a committee. Obviously, as there are 2 sides of coin, there is advantages and there are disadvantages as well. The first is delay. Generally, whenever a committee is established, people have to meet a number of times, and then number of persons express their view. There are back and forth communication, and then the fixing of committee meetings is also time consuming. The agenda is issued and convenient dates are fixed for the meetings, and then decision making process can become very slow. In these days we use so many online platforms, but when we have to do the physical meetings, people have to travel from one place to other place. They have to commit all the rules and regulation if they are traveling through other countries. So this is kind of a delay which can make the decision making progress delayed. Then the second problem is compromise. Generally, efforts are made to reach consensus decision, that is, decisions allowed and accepted by all. That is a consensus decision. But the viewpoint of majority is taken an anonymous, this is my word of fate, we can say. I'm always pronouncing this word very wrong. Unanimous decision of committee. The thinking of the minority may be valid, but it may not be pursued for the being singled out. That means if there are 8 members in committee and 6 members are up for one decision, that they are giving their consensus or they are giving their accepting opinion, but 2 people are not so fixated on that opinion, but still because of majority acceptance, we can say that the opinions of the 6 people will be granted, and the 2 other members who are of opposite opinion will have to compromise their opinion. So they may accept less than an optimal solution because of the fear, and if their solution proves wrong, then they will blame for it. So that is how delay and compromise strike as a disadvantage of a committee. Then there is no accountability. No individual's accountability can be fixed if these decisions are bad. Every member of the committee tries to defeat himself by saying that he suggested a different solution. If accountability is not fixed, then it is the weakness of the organization. That means when committee's decision is made, the decision is made in between those members of the committee, and every member tried to defend his decisions with the help of different kind of arguments. And if in these arguments accountability is absent, then there is no meaning of being a member of committee and taking the decision on behalf of all organization. So these 3 first 3 disadvantages: delay, compromise, and no accountability. Then the next 3 are domination by some members. Obviously, whenever there are many different people are coming together to take decision, Some people are going to be dominant and they try to trust their viewpoints on the others, and this aggressiveness of some members helps them to make majority of with them, and then minority is ignored, and then it might impact the interest of organization through decision making process. So the domination by some members can be the disadvantages. Then sustained relation, sometimes relations among committee members or with other becomes strained, sustained. If some members take divergent stands on certain issues, some may feel offended. In some case, some issues concerning other persons is discussed in some committee, and members taking stand not liked by those person may offend them. So that means whenever there are some controversies, some tensions, anxieties in the during the discussions of the committee meetings, we can say that the relations can be strained. There is a possibility that some political movements can go on during the committee proceedings, and all these can lead to bad decision making and bad employee relations with the personnel. Then there is a lack of effectiveness. The role of committees is not effective in all areas. The committees may be useful where grievance redressal on or interpersonal departmental matters are concerned. Committees may not be effective where policies are to be framed and quick decisions are required. Individuals' initiative will be more effective if these are the cases. So committees have a limited role to play. In a way, we can say that a committee, when established, it has a very less jurisdiction. It can discuss the thoughts, it can make some decisions, but implementing those decisions, making them compulsory, is all up to the managerial personnel. And so the decision making done through the lot of processes by the committee may lack some kind of effectiveness, and this effectiveness must be restored by the workings of organization. So in a way, we can see we have seen 6 types of disadvantages. One is delay, second is compromise, third is no accountability, fourth is domination by some members, fifth is strained relations, and sixth is lack of effectiveness. So what are the case? Let's see some example. There is a pressure of conformity. Production was dropping at the metal bag company. Mr. Dixit, a foreign return consultant, was called in. He held 3 meetings with the managers and workers, at which he went on repeating the production would not go up till workers shouldered more responsibilities. The managers and worker went on murmuring their agreement, and some of them repeated that Mr. Dixit had been saying, till young Deepak, who had anyway decided to leave the company, plucked up the courage and said workers were prepared to take up more responsibilities. It was the managers who were reluctant to share power with the workers. So in a way, because there was a Deepak who was leaving company, so he had no fears in him. So he raised his hand and plucked up his courage and said that we are okay with doing more responsible jobs, but the managers are reluctant to share their powers, their authority, so that we can carry out more responsibilities as a worker. And then we can say that there is a pressure of conformity during these committee meetings. Nobody talked about this during the 3 meetings, but just because Deepak was saying, and why he was saying, because he was leaving company, he has no fear of getting fired. So we can say that even though there were companies, there might be problem of this dynamic that some power positioned people can just pressurize other people to accept their own views and visions and not consider others' vision. The next example is large number and poor leadership. A firm of publishers which wanted to review its past work and receive suggestions for future plans called a meeting of authors and some booksellers. So there is one publishing firm which wants to improve the future plans by reviewing the past work, and for them they created a committee of authors, that is the book writers and booksellers. It was expected that about 7 would turn up out of 28 invited. So they invited 28 people and thought that 7 will come up. Since, however, the meeting was held in a Taj hotel, you know the Taj hotel, right? It's at the big thing, big building in front of Gateway of India. It was Sunday, and about 20 of the invitees turned up. That means out of 28, 20 came. And Professor Aghe, the oldest author present, was invited to take the chair. Professor Aghe believed in giving all the fair chance to speak, and the meeting dragged from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m., that is 3 hours, which with each bookseller and author taking the opportunity to voice his own problem. So by 11:30, about 7 of the invitees who did not get a chance to speak left because they were like thinking that they are not given fair chance to talk. The meeting ended without reaching any conclusions, which couldn't be of a help to the firm. So in a way, we can say that even the committee members, how many number of committee members are we talking about? If the leadership is not good, like yeah, Professor Aghe might be a good author, but he might not be a good leader who has committed as a better chairman of that meeting. So a chairperson. So in a way, we can say that we have already learned how a meeting is conducted, how can be a better leader. This is time to implement that knowledge in this kind of scenario. Let's see the next example, at is as a overbearing leadership. An educational institution of Mumbai was facing administrative problems. So it's like a college or some institution which was facing administrative problems. The management decided to appoint a committee of teachers to help the principal to solve these problems. The committee was to meet once a week. The principal made it a point to take decisions on his own without consulting the committee. And whenever the committee members brought this to his notice, he would try to shout down the teachers or threaten him. So in a way, there is a overbearing leadership in this example. So the principal in this example is so overbearing person that he wants his decisions to be made on his own only. He doesn't want to consider any other's opinion, and he has decided one thought, and he is just going to accept that thought, accept that vision, and those who are not accepting it, he will shout them down, or he will threaten them. The administrative problems of institutions soon become worse, and the teacher made it to the point to attend the meeting only to beg the principals and treat the problems for him. So either way, we can say that then the committee work becomes very bad, and there is no use of establishing any kind of committee. So as we have seen, the committee works with the discussion phase and implementation of action phase. Firstly, you discuss the problems, you discuss pros and cons and every dimension related to that topic. And then most committees meetings produce no result because they never get beyond the discussion phase. But actually, there must be this phase of implementation or action where the solutions made during the discussion phase must be implemented and put it into actions so that there will be better progress of the company. So there are few other types of committees like standing or permanent committee. They are empowered to take management decisions. They are not formed for the short term. Their work is of a permanent and continuous nature. For example, salary committee, finance committee. So they work the managerial functions and they take the managerial decisions. This is the standing or permanent committee. Just please remember that, because there can be a question, explain the type of committees, right? Then ad hoc or temporary committee. Some committees are constituted for specific purpose. They are dissolved after the purpose has been achieved. As soon as this committee submits its reports on the work it has done, it gets dissolved and the members return to their original occupations. For example, committee formed to find out what new product can be launched. Committees formed to conduct a seminar. So that kind of committee which is temporary and held for one kind of purpose, that is called ad hoc or temporary committee. Then there is advisory committee. These committees consists of senior people, generally who can provide advice. They are normally experts in the required field. Their sole function is to advise and they play no role in the implementation of decisions. For example, an advisory committee to help frame the syllabus of course, but they don't make the books. They just suggest the syllabus of the course. Then there is formal committee. The advisory committee is a formal committee. They are formally constituted and the duties and responsibilities are specified. The fifth type is informal committee. These are formed merely for the purpose of collective thinking. They have no fixed agenda, no formal authority. Their recommendations are not formal decisions. They are given more in a way of advice. Such committees can meet over a cup of tea and discuss some problems and issues. So this is the informal committee, like a chai pe charcha. Generally, when I was working in a corporate sector, we had these meetings. They are called chai pe charcha. During the evening break, the teammates used to meet. They have some cup of tea, some sandwiches or something like that, and they keep talking about the things that are not discussed during the work hours, but they were not gossip. They were work related queries or problems which can be discussed and solved, and maybe the work can be made faster. So this is kind of informal committee. Then executive committee. This is generally constituted by the senior members of an organization. Their powers are specified and they meet at a regular fixed intervals. So generally executive committees are like they have good point of agenda. They meet as fixed intervals. If you remember, or if you know, the international organizations like World Trade Organization, World Health Organization, International Monetary Fund, European Unions, and these organizations, which are quite important organizations to run the day-to-day world in these days, they have their executive committees and they meet after the intervals of 4 years, 5 years, 1 year, maybe as prescribed. And the members are normally the members of organization itself and not the outsiders. That means the members are from the member countries in these organizations. They are empowered to take decisions, keeping the overall objective of the organization in mind. So they take decisions on a broader level. Then the last two types can be constituted as subcommittees and coordinating or joint committee. A subcommittee, as name implies, is a basically subsidiary committee. This means that it is connected with the larger committee that is more powerful and important than it. Remember, we have exams going online last 2 years. And at that time, there was one committee, which was exam committee, which decided about exam related patterns, the rules and regulation. And there was one another committee, which was called IT exam task committee, which did all the work, which was IT related. That is, we have to make forms, we have to make other things that going on online. And then there was, so IT exam task committee becomes the subcommittee, whereas exam committee is the main committee. We can say it as an advisory committee, we can say it as standing committee, and the large committee can appointed one or more its members to form another committee under its name of the subcommittee. The large committee underneath which the subcommittee is formed is a parent committee. So exam committee is a parent committee and the exam IT task committee is the subcommittee under that parent committee. Hopefully you get the example. Then there is a coordination or joint committee. This is a type of committee that acts like a link between two committees and joins or coordinates their actions together. Such a committee would normally be composed of representatives from the other committees whose activities it is coordinating. So in a way, it is the joint committee or coordinating committee which helps which links the two committees and they join together their workforce. Okay, so these are the 8 types: coordinating or joint committee, subcommittee, executive committee, informal committee, formal committee, advisory committee, ad hoc or temporary committee, and standing or permanent committee. And at this point, we finish our session for this time, and then we'll conclude the part. We'll see the part of conferences in the next lecture. Till then, have a great day ahead, and please don't forget to study and subscribe. Bye-bye.